Again, David Nash joins us on the Big Bid Theory Hotline. And David just went through your background a moment ago. On behalf of our audience, everybody listening to the episode, watching the show, 20 years in the Army, thank you so much for your service to this great country of ours.
You're very welcome. And it was an interesting 20 years.
Yeah, you and I joked when we met in Boston, and I know we joked on the phone the other day. Most of our listeners know by now that I was in the Air Force for approximately 10 years. So we'll save all of the Army, Air Force, Marine, Navy jokes, Coast Guard jokes for now. But one thing I do want to ask you about, just mention it, you were at NIGP Forum 2022 in Boston. I also pointed out that if my math is right, that was the 18th forum that you've been fortunate enough to attend.
Right,
what went well? Yeah, what went well? What were some positives you took away?
Oh, well, it was just awesome to be in person again and to see people face to face and not doing this, and not doing the Zoom thing. I teach for NIGP and I've had a dozen virtual classes, maybe 15, 16 virtual classes in the last 2 years. So being face to face with everybody, just the energy in the convention center, the people talking and shaking hands or bumping elbows. Some people had masks on, some didn't. It was just palpable, I think, and we really missed the last 2 years. So it was great venue, great city. I did some touristing while I was there, so forum was awesome.
Yeah, Boston is one of my favorite cities to visit. I've been fortunate to travel around. And speaking of traveling, NIGP Forum 2023 is slated for Louisville. So I'm going to hand it over to you, David. For anybody who's never had the opportunity to attend NIGP Forum, whether they're an agency, a vendor, why should they be there?
Well, for agency people, it's such a great opportunity to network with other procurement professionals around the country. You've got subject matter experts from all over the place that have put presentations together and offered to give those presentations at the conference. And it can be difficult. There's 6 or 7 going on at any one time. So sometimes it's hard to decide which one to go to. But you can find a class, a presentation on just about any subject when you attend forum. From the standpoint of the vendors, I think any time a vendor has the opportunity to get their name and their product in front of an audience, I think that's a good thing. Especially folks are away from the office. They're not juggling 15 or 20 other balls in the air when a vendor happens to call, or even if it's a scheduled visit or something at an agency. And just having the discussion with procurement people, because we all do things a little bit differently, and that can be different. That can be difficult from a vendor standpoint. Is trying to find out, how do you guys do business? How do you do your bids? What are your dollar thresholds? And so on. And a lot of that information can be gleaned from participating in the trade show. So I've always recommended it. And I've always thanked them. Yeah, and I've always thanked them. I was thanking a bunch of them as they were exiting the place. It was a Tuesday afternoon, I think, and they said, "Oh yeah, it was great. We'll be back next year." So that's the kind of thing we like to hear.
Yeah, undoubtedly, and again, Rick Grimm, entire team at NIGP, everybody involved in the event. I'm not going to age myself. I'm not going to say my age, but I've attended in the course of my life a number of events, and it was so well put together. Everything was seamless. You mentioned it, David, just the fellowship, the networking alone. It was truly an incredible event. It really was.
Oh yeah. Well, look at this. I mean, we bumped into each other at dinner one night, and here we are, and you never know how these things are going to work out. And certainly it's a business relationship most of the time between agencies and vendors. But that's got to start somewhere, and it's one of the reasons having trade shows and having vendor sponsorships is one of the reasons why we can put these events on. and make them as incredible as they are. So we're speaking for NIGP. I'm very appreciative of that fact.
Yeah, no doubt. So let's kind of roll up our sleeves, David, and get out the marker board, pens in hand. And I understand, and our audience understands, that you and I could probably go on for days if we
Yeah.
talked about everything involved in government purchasing. But if you could kind of condense down to a few things that vendors and agencies alike should keep in mind to be successful in the process, what are kind of what's the elevator pitch that you would share with the groups of people?
I teach for NIGP, and they're one of the classes we talk about 7 goals of public procurement. And my favorite has always been maximizing competition. I think that's putting together a well-written solicitation and thinking about what that solicitation is going to accomplish and how you're going to administer the eventual contract, I think is very important. And that's the thing I always tried to focus on. I've put that into a lot of my classes and presentations that I teach. And the other thing that I've learned over the years, and I've said this a million times, I call it my vendors are not the devil speech. And I firmly believe that, and that goes for cold calling, or if somebody's called up and asked for an appointment to come in. I never minded talking to vendors, and I think it's important for people to realize that yes, they have I don't want to say an axe to grind, but they have a set speech, a set presentation, and they're simply trying to get an opportunity to get our business. And yes, it's for the benefit of their company, but these aren't all cold-hearted people. They also live in the communities where we do. I mean, there's a lot of national companies out there too, but a lot of salespeople are spread all over the country. They live in the same communities that we are buying products and services for. So I think it's important or one of the things that I've learned over the years is vendors can be a very good partner in allowing an agency to get its job done and serve the citizens of that community. So those are 2 of the things that I've always focused on.
And great ideas indeed. And I heard you mention, our audience saw, you mentioned the word competition, and it's a word that's near and dear to my heart.
Mm-hmm.
So if there's somebody who's new to purchasing, or if there is a vendor, a supplier, or just somebody who's tuned in the show because they think we're really handsome, David, but what do you mean? What do you mean by competition? Why is that important?
Well, it's number one, we're governed by law. Most of us. We have state statutes. I worked for the city of Fort Lauderdale. We had a code of ordinances, and it spelled out how procurement was supposed to be conducted. And most of those laws talk about or mandate competitive bidding, either invitations to bid or requests for proposals. They all sort of fall under that heading. So we are quite often, or most of the time, required to put a solicitation out to a list of vendors. And with these automated procurement systems we have now, they can go to hundreds. I mean, it was not unusual for me to send a bid notification to 700, 800, 900 vendors. And here's your opportunity. You sharpen your pencil as much as you want to, put your model number down, put your years of experience in, whatever it is, put the best bid packet together and send it back to the agency so that they can evaluate it. And if it's the bid, most of the time it's low, it's the low price. But with a request for proposal, we use an evaluation system and there's different models out there, but typically we score the evaluation and award points to it. And we make an award to the highest ranked proposer. And quite often that business's price, that proposer's price might be higher than some of his competitors. But the point is that we set up a situation where we can receive competitive responses to the solicitation that we put out on the street, and we can justify the award. We can follow our statutes and ordinances and get the products and the goods and services that we need for our
Competition, an important word, and I agree with you. Kind of along the same lines, David, dovetails with the previous question. But if somebody were to hand you a magic wand and said something to the effect of, David, there is a glaring problem in the purchasing process, and you can resolve the issue, what comes to mind? What's like one of the leading challenges, I guess is the better word. What is one of the leading challenges in government purchasing right now today?
Yeah, well, I don't know if it's so much today. I know there's a big issue out there with contract administration. We talked a little bit about that before, coming on here. But if you're gonna mention a magic wand, I would wave it over public officials and department directors and department heads that seem to have a belief that our system is too complicated, it's too slow, it doesn't let them respond to what they need to do operationally, and they wind up putting themselves in trouble. I can't, yes, I've got years of experience in public purchasing. I've talked to a lot of people. I teach public purchasing. But some of the stories I hear of fixes that people have gotten themselves into because either a department has waited too long or they just don't trust the purchasing department, procurement department, whatever it is. If I could wave a magic wand, I would do away with all that nonsense. And that's not to say we're the golden-haired experts on everything, but the same officials that write the law quite often turn around and say, "Why are you taking so long?" or "Why are you buying the way you're buying?" And that has always bothered me. It's make up your mind. If you want to speed the process up, then stop putting these hindrances in our way. But if we have to follow the law, then we're going to follow the law, and that's where I would use my magic wand, is to, if I could get people to see that of why we have a process and why we follow it.
Well, David, I appreciate, and again, I know our audience appreciates your honesty there. And already established when I went through your bio, David, and at the entree to this segment, you're a very busy guy. I do appreciate you sharing some time with us, but I do want to give an opportunity for you, and I want to remind our audience that if you go to the description of this episode, you can not only find some of David's bio background information there, but also some ways to contact David. And I don't want you to share your phone number just in case somebody were to come across this and maybe you don't want them to call you.
Yeah.
But is there any way our audience can get in contact with you? And if you would also kind of look into your crystal ball and what's coming up in your near future in terms of training, appearances, speaking engagements.
Yeah, well, my email is easy. It's my name, David Nash, 256@gmail.com. Anybody's got a question or a comment, free to write to me. I respond to stuff all the time. One of the things I took up as a retirement project 15 years ago was helping people get certified as a CPPB, CPPO, or NIGP's new certification that's been out a couple of years, the NIGP-CPP. So I get questions thrown at me all the time. I mentioned earlier I'm an instructor for NIGP because I've got, I think, 5 classes between now and the end of the year scheduled on the calendar. I had a goal when I started out. I got certified in 2010. I had a goal of 100 classes, and I'm going to hit that I'm going to hit 101 by the end of the year. So I'm excited about that. And I speak at conferences periodically. Not just Forum, but I'm speaking to the Mississippi Chapter in about 3 weeks in Natchez, Mississippi. And then the chapter in Georgia has invited me up mid-November to do a couple of presentations at their conference in North Georgia. I forget the name of the town where that's going to be held, but I had to turn down somebody contacted me about speaking on the 20th of October, and I said, "Well, I'm already doing Mississippi, so I can't do that." So it's kind of fun. It keeps me connected to the profession. I'm not a practitioner. I haven't been for 15 years. So opportunities like this to stay connected with people who are still in the business is very helpful for me because of the study assistance that I provide and the teaching that I do. I want to be able to stand up there and tell people, relate things to people that are current, even though I stopped writing. So, well, technically, it hasn't been 15 years since I stopped writing. I've done it as a consultant for a few agencies since then. But basically, I haven't been writing bids for a long time. So, yeah, they say it's like riding a bicycle. You just get back on it. You can do it again, which is true to some extent. But anyway, that's what I got going on between now and the rest of the end of the year.
Very good. Well, I do appreciate it. And again, everybody watching, everybody listening, go to the description of the episode and you'll find some of that information. And just on that note, David, as we wrap things up, I think I joked with you in Boston. I know I've joked with a couple of people here at the show. I said, for David being a retired guy, he sure is busy.
Yeah, I am. You must have been talking to my wife because she says the same thing.
No, it wasn't your wife. Yeah. It was. I saw her in
funny,
Boston. But no.
I used to go to chapter meetings in my state association, and I finally stopped it. But I always got funny looks when people, you go around and introduce yourself, and David Nash retired, and you're like, retired? Well, when I'm retired, I'm not going to be coming to one of these conferences. And well, that's fine. Retirement is what you choose to make it. If you want to go fishing all day, you want to go sailing, you want to sell your house and sail the world. If you just want to sit home and watch The Price is Right all day long, that retirement is what you want to make of it. I strongly recommend that. And I'm also on the mentoring committee for NIGP, so that's kind of fun. The first guy they hooked me up with was looking for somebody who had already retired that could walk him through the process. So we've been talking for months so far about goals he wanted to do, and a lot of them he's accomplished. He's got maybe another year or so before he walks away after, I don't know, 28, 30 years or something like that. So we all have something we can share. We can give
absolutely. And David, I know everybody appreciates the information that you not only shared here during this episode, but all the fine, important work that you're doing as you're helping others grow in the profession. So many amazing people out there trying to get better at what they do. So again, David, on behalf of everybody here at The Big Bid Theory, thank you so much for joining us on the hotline.
Well, you're very welcome. I enjoyed it and appreciate what you're doing. Thank you.